Hey guys, welcome to another video. So glad that you can join me here. And I'm actually doing Marshall today. And Marshall is going to be my 43rd high peak actually. And funny thing that I'm actually doing this hike is because I think 2 weeks ago I tried to do this hike. I attempted it for the first time, actually second time. So this is actually my third attempt. And I ended up failing at it. Unfortunately, just because I just took too much time and it just didn't work out. I ended up passing the junction of where I was supposed to turn off, and my camera got wet, which is what you're looking at now. This is actually the first time I'm actually doing video after it's been wet, so it's been a little bit of a like a healing process in these past couple weeks. So, but finally doing this now. I'm actually with my dad right now. He's up ahead, and we are at Indian Pass, or at least going to Indian Pass, and we signed in at Upper Works. So we got I believe it's around a 16-mile loop. I'm probably just gonna do probably like put up a map or something and the correct mileage later on in the video. But we're going up through Indian Pass here, and then we're going to go make our way up Marshall after Summit Rock, which is near Wall Face. And then we're going to be going up Marshall. We're going to hopefully see a plane wreckage that I've heard is pretty popular along this trail. And then we're going to be making our way down the Herbert Brook Trail, and then over to Lake Colden area, and then in the flowed lands, and then out the Calamity Brook Trail. So we're going to be making a loop out of this hike today. So it's going to be pretty good mileage today, around 16 miles today. Pretty good elevation gain. Marshall is not an extremely tall mountain, but it's pretty fat. It's pretty massive, and it's not the most glamorous mountain. It's one of the people typically say that they don't enjoy this mountain a whole lot, but there's a whole lot of stuff to look at, so I mean, might as well just, take it for what it is. Lots of cool little waterfalls along the way, and such. So I've heard it's a decent trail, so hopefully it'll be pretty good. But yeah, I'm doing Marshall today, so I hope that you can sit back and relax and really enjoy this video. So here we go. This mountain is actually named after Bob Marshall, who, with him and his brother, and I think one of their guides and friends, actually did this mountain. Or no, they were one of the first people to hike the 46. So they're like literally the first, like number 1, number 2, number 3 to ever hike the 46. So they named this peak after Bob Marshall, and you'll probably see my shirt today at some point. But I actually decided to wear my I'm actually part of the Bob Marshall Club at ESF, and I'm actually one of the officers for that club. So he actually went to SUNY ESF as well back in the early 1900s. So pretty cool history with this mountain, and so I'd like to just shoot that out, because He's a really interesting guy. He was an interesting guy, and you know, he really devoted a lot of his time to the environment and to you know, making sure that these lands are preserved. So really cool to learn about. Well, we are currently on Summit Rock right now. We are making our way down to Indian Pass, technically in Indian Pass, but we're going to be making our way down from here to the junction that turns off to Marshall. And this is a nice little vista along the way towards Indian Pass. And there's a gorgeous view of wall face behind me. And last time I attempted this, I was along this path as well. And yeah, it was pretty much similar views as I have now, but it's really a magnificent view of wall face. good so far. Pretty squishy. On a scale to 1 to 9, I would say squishy. This is Marshall Mountain. This is number 43 for me for high peaks. 3 to go. Kind of cloudy right now. It was a little bit sunnier earlier, and we might get some rain this afternoon, so we're gonna try and head back down as quickly as possible. Yeah, on the way up it was definitely sopping wet. It was definitely spongy, to say the least. So my feet are drier since I have new socks on, but they were definitely wet when I had my old socks on. So yeah, definitely wet. But this is the top. Not a great, it's mostly a wooded summit, but this is basically the best you get. So. All right, so that was Marshall. So that was number 43 for me for my high peaks, and I have 3 more to go. I just recently did that this past weekend with my dad, and we made a loop out of the trip. And you can see here that this is our map. This is our route that we went. So we went up towards here on this side. This is where Indian Pass is, and Summit Rock is actually right over here. And then we went over here towards this junction, and we went up the Cold Brook west flow on this side. There's a lot of waterfalls here. And then we went past this point here where the airplane wreckage is, around this point, and which is not shown on the red marker here. And this is where the summit is, right here, this little point here, and the falls summit is actually right before that as well. And then this is Herbert's Brook when we went down. This has a lot of waterfalls. And then we went towards the flowed lands area and then out towards the wretched Calamity Brook trail. So Marshall actually has an elevation gain of 3,405.5 feet, and this route is actually 15.5 miles according to All Trails, but I actually think that we went a little bit farther than that. I think we went around maybe 17 miles for the day, including the airplane wreckage just getting to that point. So I think it was around 17 miles for the day. And Marshall actually has a height of 4,374 feet. So it's pretty much, it's not the tallest mountain, it's not the shortest mountain, it's right in the middle, but it's definitely a massive mountain, and it's kind of hard to get to. And I would actually say this is probably one of the hardest climbs that I've done in the Adirondacks, just because it's such a long hike, and it's just out in the middle of nowhere pretty much, and it's just mentally draining in my opinion. After trying to attempt it twice beforehand and failing both times, and the first time I actually went with my dad in November a couple years ago, and we were just like breaking through ice, and it was just muddy, and we actually went through the Calamity Brook trail and we only got to flowed lands just because the trail conditions were horrendous. So we decided not to continue the hike then. And then I went back there a couple weeks ago to try it another time, and I ended up going solo by myself, and I ended up missing the junction of where I was supposed to turn off. I ended up wasting a lot of time. My camera got wet, of course, because that's just how it happens. Thankfully I'm able to just film with it again. I was able to film with this trip, so I'm really grateful for that it's able to just function properly. But I ended up failing for that one as well. So knowing in the back of my mind that I failed twice at this and I'm trying it a third time, I was kind of mentally defeated a couple times, and I knew I was capable of doing the hike, but just it takes a lot out of you. It really does. So if you're really preparing for this hike, if you're really trying to be a 46er in the future, really don't underestimate this hike. Really don't. It's probably one of the top 5 hardest hikes in my opinion, and most everybody else says the same thing too. They say that this is probably like gonna I think they say there's like difficulty levels for this hike, and I would say out of 1 out of 10, I would definitely say a 9 for sure, in terms of like the Adirondack hikes. So don't mess with this mountain. It's very difficult. It was definitely a muddy trail for sure. I mean, you saw before where my boots were just totally submerged in water. There's like in mud. There was a point where actually I went like my boot was just gone. I didn't even know where it was. It was just, the mud just took it. But yeah, it was super muddy just because of all the rain that we've been having this summer. It's just been a super wet summer, unfortunately. Yeah, and prior to actually, there's some footage here that I actually did in the second attempt that I tried to do for Marshall, and you can see it here. And this is actually before my camera was, unfortunately, went for a swim, but that's all right. And I tried to do some film here. So this is like the, I I guess deleted scenes, if you will, that I decided to incorporate here. So here's a couple of them just for you to see, just for your pleasure. And yeah, along the trail we found there was some really cool, I was really impressed with the trail. I mean, even though it's unmaintained and it's kind of rugged, there are a lot of really cool waterfall spots. As you saw, I had a ton of waterfall shots. And there's a lot of moss, especially on the Herbert Brook trail as well. There's a lot of moss to look at, and it's really cool to really look at that kind of stuff, and like you're kind of zigzagging through the trail. Yeah, those going up and down Marshall, you get lots of really cool shots of waterfalls. And it takes a little while to get to that junction, Indian Pass. And going down Summit Rock is actually not, it's kind of, not a lot of people go that way. It's kind of a little bit sketchy with the rock. It's really slippery, especially with this summer, with it being so wet. And of course, if you've been in the Adirondacks before, I'm sure that you've been over to Calamity Brook Trail. That is a very long trail, especially after a long day. So I didn't really take a whole lot of shots on that one. But yeah, I think we got a couple of wildlife shots. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I definitely got a lot of waterfall shots as well. Yeah, definitely a lot of water for sure. But yeah, at the end of the day, 17 miles, number 43 for High Peaks. Pretty successful day, I think. And you know, I can't argue with that. So but yeah, that's Marshall. Thank you for sticking in with us. It's kind of a longer video, and I'm sure I'm actually still editing it right now. I feel like there's definitely a lot of shots that need to be taken in terms of like, there's just a lot to see. So yeah, that's Marshall. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I will be doing a couple more hikes this fall, as I stated prior. I'll be kind of busy as well, but I hope to just continue to just bring you content that is just worthwhile, that really just shows nature and shows me hiking. So if you have any suggestions, any advice that you could give, feel free to put it in the comments below. And if you like this video, if you like more videos that I do, you know, if you like what I do here on this channel, I hope so. Feel free to subscribe below, and I hope to bring you more content that you enjoy. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.